What's going on? This is Chris Van Vliet, and you're watching Hawaii's #1 podcast, the Kasanova Podcast.
Yeah, I fly and I soar, but I aspire for more. Took some time so I can show you how this lion can roar. Sound the sirens, let them know I'm standing right at the door. I'm defiant, cause I know that I'm a giant at core. Yeah, I'm that boy. Let them know that I'm next level. I'm a whole new kind of guy. Yeah.
All right, and we back in it. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the podcast. I'm joined with the phenomenal, the one, the only Miss T. What's good? How you living?
What is up, everybody? I am so excited to be here, and thank you for having me. I'm feeling good. I'm ready to go.
That's good. We love having you here on the show, and man, since the last time you were on, I think it's been 2 years. Has it been 2 or 3 years?
It's been like 2 or 3. Yeah, it's been a while. I'm so glad to be back.
Yeah, you know, so in that time, like you become a partner on Twitch, 2K Next Maker, all over the place, traveling, you know, all types of events. How's it feeling? How's that journey?
You know, thinking back to when I was on this podcast to now, it's insane how much I've grown. And I don't know, man. I'm just so grateful. I'm so thankful. It's a beautiful feeling.
It's definitely amazing, like seeing like your growth and just the journey itself. Okay, like walk us through it. Like how, like from the last time you were here to like where you're at now, like it's been like just watching it has been amazing, but living it has to be something else.
Totally. It's been a roller coaster, without a doubt. It's been a lot of ups and downs and sacrifice and it's just been so crazy. Last time I was here, I was really just getting myself started. And now I feel like I know who I am and what I'm comfortable with as a content creator. And I'm just soaking it all in still learning, still having fun. But I think then I was trying to get the pieces together, but now I think the picture is kind of forming itself.
Well, that's what we like to hear.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like a lot of people think like this content creator journey is easy, or you know, you just hit record or hit go live, and people don't see the behind the scenes aspect of all of this, you know. But what would you like to like share with the audience, like behind the scene? You don't have to give any like specific details, but like just a general idea.
The behind the scenes to me is the most important. You know, I always compare it to like Kobe and the Mamba mentality. Like he was the one in the gym early morning, late nights. And that's the part about being a content creator that I really put a lot of emphasis on is, you know, when no one else is watching that work. And you might be thinking like, oh, it's just, you know, videos and, you know, photos and games. Like there's much more to that, you know, and man, when I tell you that part is so important, if not the most important part about being a content creator is definitely behind the scenes and the stuff people don't see.
Yeah. Well, I'm proud of seeing a fellow Dominican out there representing, showing how we do. Loving it.
Ya tú sabes, you know.
So, what was it like partnering with Twitch? How was that?
Man, you know, it's funny you ask because that was a journey within itself. I had originally applied, my first time ever applying, I was so sure. You know, when you hit that 75 mark, it's like 75 viewers, you think it's enough, but then they're like, wait a minute, we want to see you do it for a little bit longer. So I got rejected the first time. Second time came about, and I actually was averaging maybe like around 120 viewers per stream, and it still wasn't enough. I applied a third time, And my application kind of got lost because, I didn't hear from them for like 8 months. I'm like, whoa, what's happening? I emailed support, and support kind of tells me we don't deal with partner things. You got to get in contact with this person and that person. It wasn't really until I joined the Twitch Sports Accelerator program where
Mhm.
I got in contact with someone and I'm like, hey, yeah, I'm going to reapply for partner. And they're like, wait a minute, you're not a partner already. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm not. I don't even know what's happening with my applications, kind of just lost. And then they made me a partner. So it was a roller coaster. But now it's kind of cool, because it's just more than the check mark. I think a lot of people kinda come to me and ask me like, "Hey, how can I do it too?" And I take that with great responsibility because I never forgot that journey, and I wanna share how I did it and what may worked for me may work for somebody else or not, and I just try my best to give the right advice.
Yeah, it's definitely more than the check mark, and I feel like people get caught up on that specifically. Like, that's the status to have, and we've seen like with Twitter, like a check mark, you can pay $8 and there you go. But like that's a different type of level of achievement than like Twitch, like getting partnered on Twitch and being able to, like, you've been on the front page of Twitch so many different times, like it's right, that's got to be surreal too.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely surreal. To add on to like what you said though, like being a Twitch partner is definitely a little different from the other platforms because like not only do you kind of have to work for this,
Hmm.
but you get a lot of opportunities too that I didn't really get as an affiliate, like or at least not to the extent that I do now, where it's like, workshops or just meetups with other partners and kind of like
Hmm.
discuss content creation. And it's great networking opportunities. As far as the front page, for Women's History Month in the month of March, I've been, just blessed to have that opportunity a couple of times now to be on the front page. It could get crazy, like, and you don't know who's tuning in. I
Hmm.
actually was listening to some new rapper on YouTube, and they found me on Twitch. I was like, wait, I just found you on YouTube. You found me on Twitch. It's so cool. You never know who's watching. And it's such a big audience, but it's a lot of fun if you're into that sort of thing for sure.
Definitely, definitely. No, it's just seeing you grow from I think the last time you were on you weren't partnered and now you
Mm-mm.
are, and just seeing that front page, killing it with 2K and the 2K Next makers, like all the WWE content, classic
Mm.
gaming too. Like a lot of people assume that when you're streaming on Twitch, like you gotta stream all the trending stuff, but like you vibe to your own beat and you're just
Always.
you. So.
Always. Absolutely. You gotta do what works for you. And that was actually a big part of my journey is to embrace what I like. Cause I
Mhm.
tried doing what other people liked and other games that made me miserable. And I just said, the hell with it. Like I'm gonna do me. Like I'm gonna do what I think is best. And I was playing games like retro and like WWE and things that I actually like to talk about. I think people notice when you're having a good time and it makes them want to tune in because they're having a good time just watching you have a good time.
Mhm.
So I would definitely just really embrace that part of my journey pretty heavily because without that, I don't think I would be where I'm at. Like without really embracing what I truly do love.
Yeah. It, because I remember when we first met. I can't believe it's been over 3 years. Since we
It's
first
crazy.
met.
It's crazy to think about it.
It is. Like I think I was streaming what was it, like a retro game like Double Dragon or something. You came
Mhm.
through and I was like,
Yeah.
what? And then like we clicked, chopping it up from there, and it's like just that vibe, like tuning into your streams, like you're just super relaxed, you're having fun, you got the humor, the commentary,
Mhm.
and it's just like something that you don't like I know there's a lot of people that have that same vibe, but I've seen a lot where you can tell the ones that are trying to just do the trend and those who are just having fun. And like you said, people are going to just naturally gravitate more towards the people who are having fun. And you definitely, like, if any of y'all, if you're watching, you're listening, you haven't gone to Miss T's streams, definitely do that. Yo, you in for a good time.
Yeah, man, it's still kind of like that. And it's funny you mentioned like how we met because I'm still doing that. Like I love to raid just small streamers or just anyone that I feel like has a vibe. I'll go to the
Mhm.
bottom of the page and be like, "All right, let's see who we can find." And I honestly enjoy that aspect of rating people with having, the audience that I do now, because you meet some great people, and it's good to acknowledge that.
Where's the shirt at? I know you got the acknowledge me shirt.
Oh yeah, I totally have the bloodline, but today I'm wearing Super Mario.
Speaking of WWE, like you've gotten to go to a lot of events and meet with a lot of the wrestlers. How has that been?
Oh my God, a dream come true. It's everything that I've always wanted since I was a kid to be around WWE. And just to be able to be in the presence of some of my favorite wrestlers or even my favorite content creators, it's insane. And I do have to shout out to 2K because they really are the ones making those opportunities happen. But it's definitely a dream come true. Like I'm just like all in all.
Yeah, you were at the recent was it Elimination Chamber? You were there, or
I
was it?
was yeah, it was at Royal Rumble, and oh my god, I've always wanted to go to one since I was a kid, and when I tell you it was everything. To see, 30 men, 30 women, and more, it was just so insane. Like, to me, when I sat there, I just remembered the memories as a kid, like, I always wanted to
Mhm.
go to a Royal Rumble, and now I'm actually living out my dream, and it was just priceless.
Did you get to go like and kick it with some of the wrestlers backstage or anything like that for a bit?
Not at the actual event, because I know there was, like, over 30,000 people, but they had, the way that it was set up, 2K had an event where we played WWE 2K23 early, and some of the superstars were with us. We got to take pictures, play the game with them, discuss a bunch of things with them. So that was in the daytime, and then, like, hours later at night, we got to go to the event. So we did get to chop it up with a lot of wrestlers. I got to meet Bobby Lashley, Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston, Seth Rollins. Like it was just insane. I couldn't believe it. But it was so exciting. And then we got to see those performers perform at night. So it was cool to hang out with them and then see them do what they do best.
It's completely got to be surreal.
So surreal. Like it was just so cool.
So speaking of wrestling, since Triple H has taken over with booking, um, how do you feel about WWE now? Do you feel it's a better product with him running it versus Vince?
I love it. I love it. I'm a huge Triple H fan. So I'm like backing him up all the way. It's great. Right now, it's an exciting time to get back into wrestling for my folks that maybe lost touch with it. And then the people that have been following it, like me, we're loving it because if you got to enjoy the previous generations, you're seeing today's wrestlers that are tied, or maybe family ties with the ones of the past, and it all kind of connects. It's so beautiful, and the future is looking so much brighter. So it's cool.
Definitely. I noticed like seeing from like when Triple H took over, like you saw like the jump in quality of the shows, way more wrestling than before. And what's funny is I've seen a lot of people like some YouTube wrestling commentators complain. They're like, there's too much wrestling. I'm like, how can you have too much wrestling on a wrestling show? Like, get real.
Yeah, it's impossible to have too much wrestling. But yeah, ever since Triple H took over, you can tell creatively with certain individuals, they've really just escalated. It's just beautiful to see. And I'm loving it. I'm loving it. There's not a week that I'm not really tuning in. I want to say maybe last year, a few years ago, there were a couple episodes you could miss, but now it's like you're more engaged with the weekly shows, and it's just so freaking awesome.
How you feeling about the Bloodline storyline? Some people are like,
Oh
"Yo, we're tired
man.
of it. We're ready to end." I'm like, "That's the best thing we've had in wrestling in a while."
I'm for it. I think that what the bloodline is doing, it's historic, right? And it's great. It's so great. You know, I tell people all the time, like, if you grew up in the John Cena days, he had a tough title reign for us to really swallow and deal with. And with Roman Reigns, I don't know how you could get tired of it, because there are multiple people that he's involved with this bloodline. Paul Heyman's in the mix.
Mhm.
It's like a different style, a different aspect. Like this title reign is special. It's definitely one that we're gonna remember for many, many years. So I definitely support it, and I actually have him retaining at WrestleMania.
I've got a strong feeling for that too, because
Mhm,
you're so close to the 1,000-day run. And I'm
mhm.
like, it's not, I do think Cody's gonna get it eventually. But that 1,000-day, I feel like we gotta hit that milestone before.
Totally, totally. It doesn't happen often that a guy makes it this far. I
Yeah.
actually at one point really thought Cody was gonna beat him at this WrestleMania, but the way that things have played out, um, I don't see it. I just see Roman kinda taking it. Now the Usos, I could see them possibly losing to, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, but
Hmm.
I think Roman is gonna laugh at everybody at the end and say, "I'm still here."
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And speaking of Cody Rhodes, how have you liked that return so far? I know a lot of people were like, they didn't think he was going to do well under Vince because, people coming from other companies historically have been kind of jobbed out when they
Mhm.
come in, but no, he got the keys to the kingdom.
Yeah, and I'm loving the whole thing with Cody. I thought the way that he came to WWE was awesome. You know, WrestleMania, just this time last year, like there was rumors, and then it finally happened. It was great. He hasn't lost since. And
Hmm.
that's why I would be okay with him taking his first L at WrestleMania after, coming last WrestleMania and winning. But
Hmm.
I'm loving it. It's organic, it's fun. I like that they've kept him authentic and original. Like he did bring that gimmick from AEW in a way, and stood with it, and it's working. I like it a lot.
Speaking of AEW, how do you like? Do you tune into that every week? Do you?
No, I stay up to date with what's happening in AEW, but I don't love it as much as I do WWE. Um, I'm all in on WWE for sure, and with even other wrestling promotions, I'll just tap into the news, maybe tune into a match or two, but I would say my number one's most definitely WWE.
Yeah, I was like, I was into AEW mostly for Cody, and then when they did bring in other people, like I was like Andrade, oh, they're actually gonna do something with him. No, they didn't. Nothing went with that. And
Mm-mm,
then uh Miro, I almost call him Rusev, but Miro, he came in, and I was like, oh, they're gonna. Nope, that didn't. And there's no knock to them because these are phenomenal wrestlers. But my problem with AEW personally is the storytelling is not as consistent as it is with WWE. And
mhm.
like they put on phenomenal matches. I mean, not everything is great that I've seen because there's a lot of botches, and which a performance center would definitely help them. But the I don't know, like just it. The only consistent thing I saw was Punk, and even Punk coming back, that took a long time to get
Yeah.
going.
Yeah, and they and even they had controversy with him. I know that too.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I think they cater to a different audience for sure, and their style is definitely different from WWE. You could tell they prioritize other things. WWE is very, entertainment alongside with wrestling. Entertainment is like literally the in
Mhm.
WWE, right? But with AEW, you're gonna really bring in the fans that love that hardcore style wrestling, or just pure wrestling, technical wrestling, all types of wrestling. That's really, you could tell that's what they focus on in a way. So yeah, there is a drastic difference. And I noticed that some of the wrestlers don't get used as much as we would like to see them get used. But I always try to tap in to see like what's going on that side, to see if anything changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So with 2K23 being out, I was playing it earlier, absolutely loving it.
Mhm.
How do you feel about that in comparison to the last two 2K games, 2K22 and 2020?
It's amazing. I think they really improved 22 with this 23 one. And I didn't think it was really that possible. I didn't really expect drastic changes or anything like that, cuz I thought 22 was a great game. They had that
Mm-hmm.
gap to work on it. But they improved like graphics, gameplay is similar to 22, which I'm glad they didn't change, 'cause I like the gameplay in 22. But they added a lot of stuff. I'm huge on like NXT, so I was happy to see a bigger NXT roster. Just added stuff to 22, making 23 just stellar. Damn near perfect almost. But in comparison to the previous 2Ks, we don't really talk about WWE 2K20. But 19 was good at one point. Like that was actually a really good one. 20, we don't talk about. 22 was stellar. And 23 is definitely worth trying, and I'm having a blast with it so far.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely they've hit their stride with 2K22 and 23. And yeah, we don't talk. I
No,
had to
we don't
bring up
talk about
20
20.
because I knew how you were going to react. I'm like, yo, I need to throw it out there and see what she's going to
Mm,
do. But yeah,
yeah.
we don't talk about that one. I mean, 19 was the best of the older era, I would say, for
Mhm.
like from was it 2K12 2K13 up. I thought that was the best one. But yeah, like I like 23. I think the graphical leap, even from last game to this one, seems with certain characters they seem more on point than others as far as like the graphical fidelity. Gameplay is good. Um, I'm doing the My Rise. I'm enjoying that. I just hate
Mhm.
the name The Lock.
Oh, yeah. It's funny, when I had early access to it, I actually jumped into the log just to see it, and I'm like, "Okay." The log on the underwear print, I saw it, had it on there, and I was like, "You know what? I think I might do the legacy. I might do the women's first and do this one later." But, the story, though, is really good. I think you'll enjoy that once you fulfill the entire thing. For both men and women, the story is always a little bit catchy, but this year is good.
What's your favorite like career mode in like a wrestling game? For me, it's uh, Here Comes the Pain. That was my favorite one.
Oh, like that's a great
That,
one.
yeah.
And honestly, I might agree with you. Here Comes the Pain was perfect. It was just perfect. Because I don't know if you remember like the intro to that game, how it was like black and white. Even at the
Yes.
end of the career mode, like you have that moment. And it's really cool. I love that one. And another one that I really liked was, oh man, there's so many, but I'm just gonna throw a few. SmackDown Shut Your Mouth. It was a super long season, but there was so much to collect. And
Mm-hmm.
some sleeper choices would be SVR, SmackDown versus Raw '06 and '07. Story modes were amazing.
Yeah.
Um, they were just so good. So good.
You think we're ever gonna have like maybe in upcoming 2K games, or if they decide to do another spin-off game, you think we're gonna get story modes of that caliber? Because it felt like the folks who wrote the TV show were writing the stories for like SVR and for Here Comes the Pain, Shut Your Mouth, because like those I was more hooked on those back then than like actually watching Raw and SmackDown. Although it was
Yeah.
great, and as much as people hate on like the latter part of the Ruthless Aggression era, it was still good.
Yeah, well, I mean, we might. I think the way that wrestling games are progressing is just insane. Like, if you played some of the early stuff, even from SNES to PlayStation to now, it's just crazy how these games have progressed. And I only see it getting better. Like this year, they added like war games. That match is something that's
Yeah.
never been done in the history of wrestling games. So I don't see how we can't get better stories, better matches, and more. And I always think with sports games or even wrestling games, it's also a reflection of the real life product.
Hmm.
And so if the product is doing good and they're getting creative with it, the games are gonna get creative and be just as good. So I can see it happening.
I know the AEW game, whenever that comes out, because I think it's delayed, was supposed to be more like No Mercy.
Mhm.
And no, I mean, people still play No Mercy to this day. That game has supreme longevity, but how do you think that would do whenever the AEW Fight Forever comes out? Do you think it being like No Mercy is a good thing for it, or do you think it kind of tethers it away?
Yeah, because it's like the same makers, if I'm not mistaken, that are working on this new game. I think it'll do relatively well. I think the roster will definitely be an attraction for wrestling fans because some wrestlers on AEW never been in a wrestling game before. You have like Jade, you have Darby Allin, so many good names. And I think it'll make some buzz. I think people will definitely support it.
Definitely. Um, Beyond that, let's talk about um, as far as like content creating. Are you now doing this full time or? Cons-
Yep,
okay.
yeah, full time, man. It's been a journey. I was actually working another job full time last year and I was doing this like part-time, full time. That always kind of varied. And then one day I was like I am miserable at my day job. I was miserable. I was living such a crazy schedule because I worked the 9 to 5, but I had to be up maybe like around 8, but I was ending my streams late, like sometimes 3, 4 in the morning. So I would literally be on 3 hours of sleep, and I was doing that for months. So it was like I caught myself, just stressed. I was breaking out mentally. I just was like all over the place. I was trying to keep up with a lot. And I just one day woke up and I said, you know what? I have to put in my 2 weeks. Like I need to do this. I need to take a leap of faith and really invest in myself and believe in myself. And I just remember I walked into the office because I worked for a nonprofit at the time,
Hmm.
and I just told my boss, I'm like, and it's crazy because I got promoted and I was doing great at my day job. And I walked in there and I was like, hey, listen, we need to talk. She's like, what's up? I'm like, we're breaking up. She's like, "You're breaking up with me?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're breaking up because I'm putting in my 2 weeks." And she couldn't believe it because I was doing so great and everything was great, but I wasn't great. And
Yeah.
I had to chase my dream, and I don't regret it. It's been a wild journey because it's like, if this is the water, like my head's right above the water, like my nose, but it's worth it. And I'm just so glad that I was in a position that I could afford to make that move. But it's been, like I said, it's been a roller coaster. It's been wild, but definitely worth it. And yeah, so now I do it full time.
Okay. Do you feel that in going full time with it, there's substantially more stress and pressure to maintain not only like a streaming schedule, but community, business engagements with, or working with brands and whatnot. How is that for you, and how have you been managing it?
I would say it'd be more stressful if I didn't love what I do. Because if I was
Mm,
just doing this like as a hobby or I'm just trying to make something out of it, I think it would be so much harder. But because I love to entertain people and I love what I do, it's way easy for me because I just fire up the camera. I get in my zone. But as far as like, being a little bit more organized, having those time management skills, reaching out to these companies and stuff, at first, it was new to me. At first, I didn't know how to start. And I know we've had those conversations in the past about, hey, this is how you kind of pitch your idea to a company. I'm like, I need to put myself in a position where these people reach out to me. So I just made it a priority to put myself in that position by working really hard and trying to stick to my niche. I think that's crucial because then you're, targeting a specific audience and they see that, and it made that whole process a little bit easier. But it was a challenge at first. It was definitely new.
yeah, that's something. When you say like the company's reaching out to you, that's something that is very crucial that a lot of
Mhm.
creators I think need to understand. Like, yeah, working, reaching out to companies, getting them to work with you, that's fantastic. It's phenomenal. But when you put in time, you put in work, like regardless of whether people, y'all see us now on camera,
Mhm.
got our headsets, got our microphones, boom, boom, bah. Yeah, you see that and you think, oh, that's easy. I can do that. When you realize all the behind the scenes, making sure you got internet, your light bill paid, you got
Yeah.
you got AC or you got some, for like noise rejection, got audio interface, like all the stuff that goes into it. You've invested in yourself, invested in basically your business and brand.
Mhm.
And after doing that for a while, there should be a point where companies should come to you because it shouldn't just be a one-way street where we're like, hey, this is who I am, and, acknowledge me. Right,
Mhm.
basically,
Yeah.
when it's like, oh yeah, oh, this person got a dope stream, they got dope content on YouTube or whatever, social media's popping off, like I want to work with them. That's when you're doing good. I'm proud of you for like
Yeah. No, I
everything you've been
appreciate
doing.
it. I really appreciate that. And you couldn't have said it any better. It's a little difficult at first because nobody really tells you this. This is something that I
Mhm.
did notice on my journey. It's like nobody really talks about this stuff unless you tune into like this podcast, you really won't know. I feel like when you're just coming into the content creation, Twitch, YouTuber life, you're just going into it. You have your ideas, you're making your stuff. But then if you're trying to turn it into a business, a brand, and trying to move like a business or a brand, you gotta kind of go out there and find those like resources. So couldn't have said it any better. It's definitely about putting yourself in that position and just going out there and trying to make it work.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's I've had people say that they don't view like the stuff that we do as a full time career because it's not the traditional job, like a 9 to 5 or, the grave shift job or anything like that. And like I said, there's way more on the behind the scenes that a lot of you guys don't see. And, if it was like I saw someone on Facebook. Yeah, I actually go on Facebook only because of family, but yeah, I have a Facebook. But I saw somebody on Facebook post up there like, hey, I work this job and I make this, but then there's a kid that's on Twitch playing Fortnite and they're making millions. And then I was like, okay, that's bait. But let me let me see what they're gonna say. Let me see the comments. I went to the comments and people were just like, man, they don't know the first thing about work or paying bills. Like they don't even pay taxes. And I'm like, anyone who's making money off of doing content creating is paying taxes. Like there's no way we're not paying. We pay more taxes than people who go to 9 to 5. So
Totally. And man, that's another thing too about like content creation. I don't know if it gets a lot of emphasis is tax season. It's
yeah.
stressful. I hate it. But hey, you got to do it. But for sure this is most definitely like it's a job, but it's definitely a part of this new generation, this new wave, innovators, right? And it's funny because when I first started streaming, it was kind of hard to explain this to my Dominican mom. She was like, "Gay?" Like, what? I'm like, "Yeah, like I'm working. I'm here." She's like, "You're in your room playing games. What are you talking about?" I'm like, "No, no, no, trust me. Just give me some time, okay?" But I think for maybe a previous generation, it's hard to understand that. But once people start seeing the results and start seeing like, wow, you're actually taking this serious and you're getting somewhere with this, that's when they start believing it's a real job.
Yeah. And I've noticed too, like with like when the pandemic hit, and a lot of people got laid off from their jobs, and it was a tough time for all of us going through it. But a lot of people took a chance on, hey, I got all this free time. Let me just see if I can pursue this hobby, streaming or making YouTube videos or podcasting, whatever. And a lot of people literally 2.5, 3 years later, this is their full-time career. And for anyone who thinks that this is new, I guess the term content creating is fairly new, but it's just entrepreneurship. And that's been around for generations, for eons. Ain't nothing new about that. This is just a new wave. It's a new way because traditional media, that's going away. Like, you don't have to go to Hollywood and slave away bussing tables so you can hopefully get the right gig and the movie or the TV show take off and then boom, you're a celebrity. No, you can turn on your camera, use your phone, whatever. Now people have way more opportunities to make money, live well, and have fame and success, or even screw the fame, have success just in general and be more self-sufficient now than any other point, it seems. You can just, it's entrepreneurship. And that's
totally. Totally is. I gotta agree with you there. That's really what it's about. It's like being your own boss, but just finding ways to kind of make that happen. Like putting out your ideas, original ideas, and kind of going from there. It could be challenging at times, but it's also really rewarding. But definitely, it's just entrepreneurship and just kind of pushing that forward.
Yeah. So I know you're killing it on social media. You're killing it on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter. I don't know where else you're at. Like, are you like how go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, everywhere. Instagram, everything. I'm kind of just trying my best to keep up with it all. And it's interesting because there's different audiences everywhere, but it's definitely something I've been kind of like focusing on. I would say in the last few months.
So, do you have a team or is it just you handling everything?
Just me right now. It's funny because a lot of people always ask me that. They're like, "So, who's your management team?" And like, are you bringing someone on this trip? I'm like, "No, it's just me. I got a camcorder. I got a laptop. Whatever. Shoot me an email." But it's funny because now that I'm around some bigger creators and partners and stuff, they have like a ton of equipment and management teams and stuff, and I think that's the coolest thing. But for me, it's kind of like I know how I like to have my things, and I will be open to more professional help later down the line, possibly. But right now, I love this so much that once the stream is done and I'm done being the streamer, I don't mind going and checking a million emails and then being like the PR person for myself, and then later in the day scheduling social media stuff. Like it's really what I love to do, but it's a lot at times. Especially now that I'm doing YouTube, I noticed that YouTube takes up so much time because of editing. And I might have to get an editor because that editing thing, I love to edit. I actually went to school for editing and media and film. But it takes up a ton of time. And now I'm starting to realize, you know what, Jen, we might need to squeeze in an editor in here in the team one. But it's going good so far. But the editor might be on the top of my list.
Yeah, because okay, so for people who don't understand, like editing, like her and I, we have a very similar background, so we love to edit. It's just when you realize that with YouTube, they want more and more all the
do.
time. You got to constantly upload every day or every other day. And it's like, how many times are you uploading? And it becomes tiring. Because I think TikTok, you're supposed to do what, 3 or 4 posts a day on average?
Yeah.
And then it'll push you. And like, that's one thing, because it's easy because you can do it all with your phone sometimes. But trying to do everything with like, trying to do YouTube on top of everything else. Like this past week, I've been going through burnout because I'm like, I don't feel like editing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I put out my review for like Resident Evil 4 remake. I'm like, here's the written review. And folks like, where your video? I don't feel like editing that. I don't feel like recording that.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's totally a lot. Like, you would be working on a million other things, but editing takes so long. And with TikTok and these other social platforms, I feel like I'm really good at those a little bit more than YouTube, because it's short form content. I can make that, whip it up real fast. But a YouTube video, even if it's an 8-minute video, I'm making little edits, little, additions to it, music and more. It could take me hours. I'm just like, oh, this is a new challenge. I like it, but we might have to look into an editor because it takes up so much time.
Yeah. So winding down the show, because I want to be respectful of your time. For the audience that may be considering like going into content creating, whatever journey that takes them on, what advice would you give them, knowing what you know now?
I would say find what you love. What subject do you love? Do you love to cook? Do cooking. If you love dance, do that on stream. Like, it's beyond video games. And if you love maybe a specific genre of games, stick to that. Find what you love, because that's what's going to get you through the tough days. The days that you're like, man, is it really paying off for me? Like, the days you're doubting yourself, your passion would be so much greater. You're just like, whatever. I love this. Like, I'm just gonna do it. And it'll push you. And I think that should always be the main thing driving you, is your passion and your love for whatever it is that you choose to stream or create content on. And another thing I would also say is consistency and drive. The passion will make that easier, but consistency, just, even, it doesn't have to be perfect. I tell this to people all the time. Like, you don't have to have the most expensive equipment, nothing. You just put it out there, make mistakes, learn from yourself. What I hate watching my streams from 2-3 years ago, because I looked crazy, I sounded crazy, the mic was crazy. But I needed that to be where I'm at right now. And I'm gonna go back to this episode, and I'm gonna be like, man, I looked crazy, I sound crazy. And you got to learn from yourself, have fun with it. I think the problem is people try to be perfect with content creation, and that's how you're just easily gonna doubt yourself or not live up to your own expectations. But just have fun and be free with it would definitely be my advice.
Yeah, and to add to that, like, we had a talk about, was it a week ago? And I was telling you how I was feeling about content and losing my confidence, because like I'm churning out more, like more shorts on YouTube and doing okay with that. And then trying to review all these games, I got to a point where I'm like, I'm sick of reviewing games, because I said I'm looking at stuff I want to go back and play, and I'm like, I can't, because I got to focus on this 30, 40, however long game. And what is the time frame they're giving it to me? Are they giving it to me a month ahead of time, 2 months, a couple weeks, the day of? Like, was Dead Space and Callisto Protocol were like 2 hours before it went live to the public to buy. And I'm just like, I wasn't having fun with it. And then other creators I've talked to, like bigger, like, and what's funny is a lot of them are new and they just popped on the scene within this last year and they blew up. And like, they're telling me, I don't have what it takes to keep doing this. I'm not creative enough. I'm not original enough. My work's not good enough. And that I should work, do stuff for them, write their content, make their videos, all this other stuff, instead of trying to push my own content. And, it just, if I didn't talk to you, and your advice, which really helped me, was just to ignore all that and just keep driving, because we all grow at a different place or pace. And, I just want to say, like, if anyone's trying to put you down or tell you can't do it, reassess what you're doing and why you're doing it. Like, don't bring yourself out. And like, Jen's been saying this whole time, your passion, as long as your passion is there, reassess that, and reassess the people doubting you, because haters come in all shapes and forms. They could be
amen to that. Amen
right,
to that.
Like, they'll pop up like nothing. I mean, but you can't let that dictate what you doing, what you do with this. So
totally, like, dude, you couldn't have said it better, because they do come in all shapes and sizes. And like we spoke about, I say, forget them. Just have fun. And your only critic and the only competition you should have is the one with yourself. You should always just try to outdo yourself, and even if it's the little things, but even if it's someone who's self-made telling you, hey, you don't have what it takes, it's probably because they're intimidated that you might take their spot one day. Don't lose sight of that. And your confidence should always be there, because nobody else could be you besides you. So that you're already like one-upping yourself and those, who are viewing you as competition. But at the end of the day, it's all about you, and you never want to lose sight of that. And everybody has something to offer. What works for me might not work for you. You might do something better than me. I might do something better than you. Like, everybody's on their own journey and doing their own thing at their own time. I've, met people at the beginning of my content creation journey that blew up so much faster than I did, or had more success in a shorter period of time. There have been times where I see people join Twitch and like in 2 months they're a partner, and it took me years, but you don't sit there and compare. If anything, you just sit there and like, oh, that's cool, it's happening for them. But what about me? Like, am I a better person than the person I was yesterday? And it should always be about, you're trying to just be a better person or be a better creator than who you were, in the past. And it becomes so much easier, and other people will recognize that. And it's pretty dope.
And with all that being said, anything you're working on or anything you want to leave the audience with before we go?
Well, I am getting ready for WrestleMania season. So, a lot of more wrestling. I'm gonna be just going out there to LA and covering all things wrestling. So I'm excited about that. But I think all year long I'm gonna continue with variety. Supposed to be in a Fortnite tournament, which I'm super excited about in April.
Oh,
that's super nice. Excited. Super excited about that. I just, just trying to continue to do my thing. And I think next time I come on this podcast, things will be much differently, hopefully in a positive way. And not just for me, but for you as well. And everybody that's watching, I hope next time, I'm on here, we get to hear more awesome stories. And I hope that I have some to include.
Oh, you definitely will. Definitely will. Plug your social medias and all your outlets and everything, and yeah, let's go ahead and wrap it up.
All right, so my social media is Miss Thickums TTV everywhere, also on Twitch as the same name, just no TTV at the end. And yeah, find me everywhere: TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and more. I want to say thank you so much for inviting me. I was really excited to come back on here, and it's just great to see you do well, and I'm just happy to see everything come together.
Yeah, and again, I can't wait to have you back on the show. Always welcome on. And yeah, I possibly might see you at WrestleMania. I will be there too. So definitely.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, for sure. We got to link up. That'd be great.
Definitely. So with all that being said, I leave all your social media and outlet links down in the description below of the show. And if you guys enjoyed it, make sure, if you're watching on YouTube, all the stuff that YouTube likes, like, share, comment, subscribe. And if you're listening to it on any of the podcasting outlets. We're on every major podcasting outlet. Just let us know what you think of the show. And all that being said, Jen and I are signing out. We will catch y'all in the next one. Mahalo for your time for listening to this episode of the Kasanova Podcast, number one podcast in Hawaii. If you found this episode to be incredibly enjoyable, informative, or if there's anything you gain from it, or any insight, or anything that's good that you really, really enjoyed, make sure whatever platform you're listening to it on, or if you're watching it, leave a comment if that's available on the platform, like it, share it around with someone you think would enjoy it, and give us some feedback, because your feedback is exactly what we need to keep this show going. And if you're wondering what are some ways that you could support the show, we got various ways. We've got Patreon, we have channel memberships over on YouTube, as well as Subscribestar, Coffee, and so much more. Links for everything will be in the description of the podcast, so make sure you go check that out. And with all that being said, I hope you have an aloha rest of your day.
Let them know that I'm next level. I'm a whole new kind of guy. Yeah. Yes, at the top spot, in case you forgot. We the ones that got the block hot, bullet got the shot.